An AI system can now read a brain MRI in seconds. It can identify over 50 neurological conditions with up to 97.5% accuracy. It can tell you whether you need emergency attention right now or whether it can wait. And this is not a prototype. It was tested on nearly 30,000 real clinical MRI studies over a year. It is called Prima and it was built at the University of Michigan and it was published in Nature Biomedical Engineering in February 2026. This will save lives. That is not up for debate. But here is what is up for debate and discussions. Who owns what the AI finds inside your brain? Because a brain scan is not like a blood test or even a chest X-ray. A brain MRI contains more intimate information about a person than almost any other medical document ever created. And right now, in 2026, we have almost no framework for what happens to it. Hello and welcome back. I am Gautam. Let me tell you what Prima is. It is a vision language model. It is a system that can process images and text simultaneously in real time. The team trained it on every MRI taken at Michigan Health since radiology was digitized. Over 200,000 studies, 5.6 million imaging sequences. They also fed it the patient clinical histories and the reasons each physician ordered the scan for additional and complete context. That is the difference between Prima and every previous attempt at AI-assisted neuroimaging. Past models were built on manually curated slices of data to solve one specific task: predict the risk. Prima reads the whole scan the way a radiologist reads it, integrating history, context, and imaging together. The result, across more than 50 radiologic diagnoses from major neurological disorders, it outperformed every other state-of-the-art AI model. For emergencies, brain hemorrhages, strokes, conditions where minutes matter, Prima automatically alerts the right specialist immediately after the patient completes the imaging. Not the next morning, not after a worklist queue, immediately. The lead researcher, Dr. Todd Holland, described it as, and I am just paraphrasing, this is ChatGPT for medical imaging. This is a co-pilot for the radiologist, not a replacement, co-pilot. And that framing matters. I will come back to it later. For now, let's consider what is the current state in radiological scanning like MRI. The global demand for MRI is increasing and it is outpacing supply. In many parts of the world and in rural hospitals, getting a result back from a brain scan can take days. Neurological conditions do not wait days. What Prima promises is specialist level analysis in hospitals that do not have specialists. It promises faster triage in systems that are overwhelmed by volume. Promises that the child in a small hospital in a rural place gets the same speed of diagnosis as the patient in a major academic medical center. And that is genuinely extraordinary, powerful, and full of humanity. I do not want to understate it. We are talking about a technology that could democratize access to neurological expertise at a scale that was not possible before. But I have been in this space for very long and I know what comes next. I spent years advising at the intersection of technology, identity, and humanity. I architected Mobile Connect, a digital identity system deployed across multiple mobile operators and touching billions of users. I worked and advised in the healthcare IoT and connected diagnostics. And there is a pattern that plays out almost without exception. Every time a powerful technology enters a sensitive space, this pattern plays out. The capability moves first, the governance catches up later. And in the gap between those two movements, humans pay the price. We saw it with digital identity on the early internet. We built makeshift authentication systems before we built accountability. We designed data collection before we designed data rights. We optimized for convenience before we optimized for privacy and consent. And we spent the next 2 decades trying to repair what we should have built and build correctly from the beginning and the start. I am watching the same pattern beginning with brain data. Here is what a brain MRI actually contains. And again, I am not a neurological expert. I am looking at it from data, identity, and humanity perspective. It contains the structure of your brain, the evidence of past injuries, the markers of diseases you may not yet know you have, conditions that correlate with behavior, cognition, emotional regulation, the signature of your neurological identity, unique to you in ways that fingerprints are not even. When Prima reads your brain scan, who stores that data? Where? For how long? Who can access it with what authority? Can it be used to train future versions of the model? If you are a patient in a hospital that licenses Prima, did you consent to AI analysis when you consented to the scan? Right now, most patients have no idea. Most hospital consent forms do not address this extensively. And there is no single healthcare law anywhere that answers these questions clearly, extensively, and universally. This is the most personal data ever generated about a human being. And our governance framework looks like it was designed for a different era, different purpose, and for different context altogether. I want to pause here and ask you something, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments. If an AI system read your brain scan and found something that your doctor had not noticed, who should tell you first, the machine or the doctor? Should the algorithm be allowed to contact you directly? Think about that for a second, because different answers to that question lead to very different regulatory and governance frameworks. Please drop your answer below in the comments. And if you are not subscribed yet, this channel exists because I believe that the most important conversations about AI and technology in general are not the ones happening in boardrooms. They're happening in hospital waiting rooms like what we are discussing right now, in radiologist offices, and in the space between what technology can do and what we have decided should do. Please subscribe and please stay with me on this. Now, let us get to the question that keeps healthcare professionals awake at night. If Prima misses something, if it fails to flag a tumor, if it deprioritizes a stroke, if its confidence score sends a patient to the wrong queue and that patient is harmed, who is accountable? The physician used a tool. The physician still bears the professional responsibility. But here is the double bind that is beginning to emerge. As AI-assisted diagnosis becomes the standard of care, physicians could soon be held liable not just for using AI incorrectly, but for failing to use it at all. They are expected to rely on systems they may not fully understand, and they are blamed whether they follow the algorithm or override it. That is not a framework. That is a pressure cooker. The developer says, we are a decision support tool. The physician says, ultimate accountability lies with human oversight. The regulator says we are still working on the regulatory and governance framework. And the patient, the patient just wants to know if they're going to be okay. This responsibility gap where innovation outruns governance is not new. We have seen this in every technological evolution. But in healthcare, unlike almost any other domain, the cost of getting it wrong is not inconvenience. It is irreversible. And then there is privacy and consent. When you agree to a brain scan, you are agreeing to a diagnostic procedure. You are not, in most of the cases, explicitly agreeing to have your scan processed by an AI and the data to be used for further training of AI models. You are almost certainly not agreeing to have that data used for any future AI training. You may not even know it is happening. This is not unique to brain data. We made the same mistake with digital identity in the 1990s and 2000s. The consent was buried in terms and conditions no one read. The data was collected because it could. The downstream users were never imagined by the person who clicked I agree. We cannot afford to make that mistake again. Not here. Not with this data. Here is how I think about this. And it is the framework that has shaped everything I have built and advised on the last decade and even more. The real barrier to deploying powerful technology in sensitive spaces is never whether the technology works. Prima works. The accuracy is remarkable. The potential is real. It helps humanity. It saves lives. The barrier is whether the trust architecture around it is worthy of the data being asked of humans. Trust architecture is not a compliance checkbox. It is not a privacy policy buried on page 14 somewhere. It is the deliberate, thoughtful design of how data flows, who controls it, how consent is structured, how liability is assigned, and how errors are surfaced and corrected. It is building the accountability before you deploy the capability, not after the first patient and the human pays the price. Let me be direct about where I stand. I am not anti-AI in healthcare. I am the opposite. I want Prima and similar technologies deployed widely. I want it in rural hospitals. It saves lives. It is for humanity. I want it saving lives in emergency rooms where there is no neurologist on call at 2 in the morning. The faster this technology scales with the right governance around it, the more people survive conditions that would otherwise go undetected until it is too late. But the stronger the accountability framework, the faster this technology can be deployed with confidence. These are not competing goals. Governance accelerates adoption when it is done correctly. So, here is what I want from you today. Tell me, what is your biggest concern about AI reading brain data? Is it data ownership? Who stores it and for how long? Is it diagnostic accuracy? What happens when it gets something wrong? Or is it liability? Who is accountable when no one is clearly accountable? Leave it in comments. I read every single one. Because the most powerful technology we will ever build is one that can see inside the human body and mind. We owe it to every patient to build the governance with the same precision we build the tool. And as always, let's keep humanization at the center of every technology we build. Think carefully and please always stay curious. Thank you. I am Gautam.